And before we talk about anybody else in specific terms on the grid, let's hear from Eric Behrens. Alex Legui is down there to have a word.
Eric, Pro-Am pole today, congratulations. Yesterday you provided us with some very intense battles. What can you do from here on the grid?
Yeah, looks great, double pole in the qualifying. So yeah, today my guys, they worked until 5 in the morning. So we are fighting for, you know, the best team spirit, and we're going for the P1 now also in the race.
Good. Best of luck.
Eric Behrens is going to start, or that car is going to start from 6th on the grid. Ashley Marshall will do the opening stint. Eric Behrens, who was winning GT championships back home way back in 2007, but he's been in Swedish GT, British GT, Scandinavian GT, GT4 Scandinavia class champion 3 seasons ago. Ashley Marshall starting in that black and gold car. Ginetta GT5s into British GT4. So he's another of these young guns using the McLaren Trophy series as a stepping stone perhaps to getting a manufacturer link. Let's get back to the grid and join Andreas Greiling.
Grabbing a word with Andreas here, who took AM pole. We're here at Monza, the Temple of Speed. You're in the thick of it. How tricky is this race going to be when you're right in the mix?
Yeah, we like this track also a lot of. Why here so much when you want fast, you must so disciplined driving, and it's a great condition here with the whole peoples and the other series you're driving. It's amazing.
Good. Car feels strong. What do you think is the trickiest challenge for it?
Yeah, we have a lot of challenge with the car. The car is brand new, and we have a lot of small mistakes. But for the second qualifying, we was on the end, and it was fast. Yeah.
Great job. Best of luck.
Andreas Greiling will take over from Kevin Rorsheid, who we saw in the championship in previous seasons, and Kevin did the qualifying time to put that car 9th on the grid. So Kevin Rorsheid starts, and Andreas Greiling will take over. There you've got the number 43 Greystone entry that was victorious yesterday. Standing start as well, just to make the point, for McLaren Trophy. And as we go down the grid, Ryan James, class winner in Pro-Am yesterday, will do stint 2 today. He is with Alex.
Ryan, you and Ollie did such a good job yesterday, that last lap. From where you're starting now, P10, what can you do in today's race?
Well, you know, I had a pretty bad qualifying, so I set Ollie up for some good work here. And we also have, you know, some really fast pros behind us. So let's see how it goes. But, you know, I have a lot of confidence, and hopefully it leaves me some push to pass when it comes to my turn.
Yeah, you boys are pretty comfortable here. Certainly Ollie is. Well, yesterday he demonstrated the fact that he was a man on an absolute mission. But how tricky is it around this incredible Temple of Speed?
Yeah, it's quite tricky. I think everyone's struggling with the brakes. You know, when you take the wheels off, just like piles of brake dust come out. So that's going to be the biggest challenge for me, is managing that, because I'm not as good as him.
And the weather, like right now, we are peak heat here. Yep.
Yeah, it's just going to make everything harder. It's like 140 degrees inside the car. Thankfully, this becomes like a wetsuit. So managing that, as well as you know, engine performance and the braking, it's going to be the biggest challenge.
Best of luck. You boys can do it, I'm sure.
Well, class winners yesterday, and Ollie Webb had a really hard fight, didn't he, with Ashley Marshall? It was quite something at the end of the race yesterday.
It was great to watch, yeah, absolutely. These guys are doing very well, leading the Pro-Am class. I think he mentioned 104 degrees there. I think he's on Fahrenheit, isn't he? I hope so.
I hope so, yes.
But yeah, doing great well. But I mean, he described the position as comfortable. It's really not comfortable in the championship for them. They have really good opposition from Eric Behrens and Ashley Marshall. Only 2 or 3 points behind him in the championship. So great to see the Pro-Am class really well contested.
Yeah, absolutely. There is then Michael O'Brien's pole position car. They were winners, both he and Jaden Kelly, at Brands Hatch, and they've not had it all their own way, evinced by the fact that yesterday it was this win for Sam Nesser and Josh Mason, but they today get the longest pit stop out of the pro class, whereas 5 seconds go to Michael O'Brien and Jaden Kelly. We've lost one car from the back of the grid, sadly. Sean Pendry and Stuart White had rejoined the championship, but Sean Pendry had an off at the Ascari chicane yesterday, and therefore the car has been withdrawn, a legacy of that incident yesterday. But we've still got a very competitive grid, and there's a real kind of feeling of optimism around the championship now, not only in terms of the numbers, but the type of racing, and there's a successful launch of the championship in America as well. So after a couple of if you like, baby steps seasons. Now the impetus has caught hold, and it's a championship that's going places. Certainly
Momentum, I think, is the right word for this championship. It's the quality of entries as well on all classes really have upped, and there's a lot of battles to the field. Yesterday we had a fantastic battle for second place involving 4 or 5 cars, for example. But again, the Pro-Am class being very competitive as well. So yeah, just looking very bright for the future of this championship.
And just to make the point also, these cars sit not as slow cars, far from it. They are between GT4 and GT3. They're quicker than GT4 cars.
Very much so. They are, in fact, towards the GT3 pace rather than the GT4. So they are very fast. And here at Monza, it's fantastic to be able to open up those all of that 620 horsepower with the push to pass.
Yeah, we'll come to the push to pass in due course, because that's another big factor of all of this. It's a 45-minute race, and the formation lap then is underway. Normally, McLaren Trophy races are 50 minutes, 45 here, just because it is such a fast circuit, and to make sure that fuel consumption isn't an issue, just a slightly shorter race. Let's look at the grid then. Based on the qualifying times this morning, Michael O'Brien and Sam Harrison are going to start at the front of the grid, ahead of Harry Burgoyne, moving from GB4 into McLaren's this year, and Lucas Sundal, very experienced Scandinavian Carrera Cup champion, next, ahead of Will Aspin and then Ashley Marshall. Yesterday's outright winners come next on the grid. Josh Mason starting in 43, ahead of Tom Holland in the car that was excluded from yesterday's race. He shares with Nick Halstead. Kevin Rochite and Oliver Webb will come next to round out the top 10, ahead of Tim Docker and Bradley Ellis. Danny Henry was the winner of the AM category yesterday, and Maurice Henry, different spelling, unrelated, is next on the grid, getting his first race mileage of the weekend. John Lancaster is going to round out the grid in the car that he shares with Ron Trenker, Stuart White and Sean Pendry, non-starters. There, going through, is Will Aspin for SMC Motorsport. Let's go back to the pit lane and Alex with Leo Caravasili.
Leo, you boys are starting in P2. It's going to be very tricky, a standing start here in Monza. You know the pace of the Grey Stone, but can you guys get down to that first corner first?
I think so. I think it's always beneficial to be on the inside into turn 1. Qualifying was amazing from Sam, considering we've both come here, and it's first time at Monza for us, first time properly in the car. I reckon we got a good chance on lap 1. Let's hope we keep it clean, show the pace, and we've been building all weekend, so why can't we build up to the top step?
Oh, you seem very confident.
Got to be. Got to be confident. Got to try.
Yeah, best of luck.
So, Leo Caravasili, new to the championship, and pretty much new to motor racing. I mean, he's done very, very little before this.
It's, you know, you can't, you know, what they've achieved in 2 days here this weekend is absolutely amazing. And the pace is really, really strong. And as he says, you know, why not, you know, turn up a few notches now into the race? So they've got a good chance.
They have indeed. They've got 3 seconds of extra time to serve in the pits, but they certainly proved they're quick. I mean, they've had to learn about each other. They've had to learn about the car, the championship, the track, the team. I mean, it's just been a very, very impressive, if steep, learning curve. Yesterday, Josh Mason and Sam Nissa were the race winners. Josh Mason starts there in 43 as he brings the car now up through the parabolica. And Josh Mason in his first season of GT-style racing after racing in the UK and America and India in single-seaters. Mason behind the wheel for stint 1, Nessa behind the wheel for the second stint. There is Ollie Webb with his long CV, and drove really well yesterday to come out on top in Pro-Am. Danny Henry, you heard on the grid when Alex was talking about temperatures in the car. Well, Danny Henry and Tim Docker, the top 2 in AM, they go solo. So the older drivers, but yet they're getting all the track time, so they've got to be fit.
Absolutely, and it's impressive. I mean, Danny's on his 3rd season, still going solo. So you would have thought that after a season or 2, you would have thought, this is too hot, let's get another guy in. But no, he just the way he does it. He doesn't like sharing, and he does the whole stint. Each
to their own. Up to the grid. So, although some monobrand GT categories go with rolling starts, we go standing start for McLaren Trophy Europe. It's a 1-by-1 staggered grid. The Australian-British partnership, Jaden Kelly, Michael O'Brien there at the very front. The car in position, a little bit further back from its grid marker box, and that's fine to make sure that there's no chance of it creeping forward and getting an out of position start. You see how much closer to the white line starts the car of Sam Harrison alongside. But the grid just about formed as soon as the last car is in place. A green flag shown at the back. We go racing, and a good getaway by Michael O'Brien. But how good a start from Sam Harrison? The answer is not good enough, because as they power down towards the Rettifilio for the first time, on the inside line O'Brien leads. On the outside line, the road has opened up. Look for Josh Mason, who then has to skip up the escape road. looked. He came charging around all the traffic. There was a clear line for him, but he couldn't get the car slowed down in time. He can't really come out in the lead, can he, for risk of a penalty? And he's going to be, what, 5th, 6th, 7th as he gets now back up to speed. Is he back up to speed? He's using that push to pass. You can see the lights flashing, but he's got a problem. He's not really been able to fight back there.
Very unfortunate start there for Josh Mason, and still losing another position potentially. Now he managed to hold that one in the second chicane.
Yeah, right up there to try and find a way past him. You could see as they came through the chicane. Bradley Ellis, whoops, drama in the background as somebody has gone around. That is number 22 you're looking at, which is the Caravoli Webb. And Danny Henry is the spinner then for DTO. He's got himself going again, but that's bad news given that he's got an extra 10 seconds to serve in the pits and he's just lost a big chunk of time. And he's trying to get himself back up to speed. It could have been a punctured tyre. That the car just looked a little bit low on the corner.
It did, yes. I mean, and that car is obviously full of gravel now, and it'll take a while for him to get up to speed. That is, if there is no damage left from that.
Maurice Henry there in the white and yellow car that he shares with Fiona James, diving up the inside. Whoops, he goes wide, and very wide. Also there off the racetrack goes Tom Holland, and bits of McLaren and bits of tyre all being scooped up. Right, at the end of another lively opening lap at Monza, it is Michael O'Brien in the lead as he comes down towards the Parabolico, being chased, and that's Josh Mason on the grass. Look, as he tries to get himself up the inside of the traffic. It's all going off on this first lap, isn't it? As around the outside there, you've got the likes of Bradley Ellis and John Lancaster in the mix. So, lap one done, and Michael O'Brien will lead the way in second place as they came across the line. Sam Harrison, Lucas Sundal is third, Harry Burgoyne is fourth, Ollie Webb fifth, Will Aspin has dropped back to sixth, then it's Ellis, Marshall, Josh Mason ninth, and John Lancaster in 10th place. But you've got 5 of them here, all going for the same bit of tarmac as they come down to the chicane. Will Aspin sixth, just hanging on to the place. But that was a weird first lap by Josh Mason, because having gone up the escape road, he didn't really seem to have much pace when he rejoined, and you can see he's still struggling.
Yeah, it's all going downhill. That since the going through the first bit of the chicane, so that's really, you know, it's taken his rhythm out of the first lap. But he's obviously trying to hang on to whatever position he is now, and still there, almost on the grass. They're coming into the second chicane. Lost a lot of positions.
Absolutely. So they're going through. You can see John Lancaster, who is always very rapid indeed. If you're in the Pro-Am category, the pit window is between the 8 and 18-minute mark. If you're in Pro or Am, 18 to 28. So it's going to be a very shuffled order throughout the sort of 20 minutes or so of the 45 where pit stops are possible. So the race leader is Michael O'Brien. He's trying to break away, bearing in mind he's got 5 seconds to serve in the pit lane and the car behind only has 3. Slippery surface flag there, which possibly is more to do with gravel being dragged onto the road. Tom Holland, who we saw being forced out wide, down now in 13th place, the car that he shares with Nick Halster. They were double winners at Brands Hatch, but after Nick's involvement in an accident on lap 1 yesterday, disqualified from the race. Michael O'Brien leading, Sam Harrison in second. They've gone toe-to-toe in historic single-seaters in the past, and at the moment Michael O'Brien is not getting away. Sam Harrison's debut in this championship has been mighty impressive.
Yes, absolutely. I think also with Michael O'Brien, he actually has 7 seconds in the pits, because there's a bit of a ladder system in the penalty, because they've done so well up to now, from Brands to race 1 obviously yesterday. They actually get an extra 2 seconds.
Ah, okay.
So instead of 5 seconds, they will get 7. So there's was that Henry in the pits with that puncture on the left rear.
Yeah, Danny Henry comes in, and he's dropped off the lead lap, of course, in all of this. So now it makes life very difficult indeed as far as recovering for a win in Am is concerned. He can salvage points, which is going to be important for the championship, but a win looks like that's going to be very difficult. Sam Harrison has done the fastest lap of the race, and look, the last vestiges of the tyre wrap round the suspension, wrap round the brake disc, so it's going to take some time to clear that off before they can even put a new tyre on. And of course that's going to be very hot, that last bit of rubber.
And that's the championship leader there for the M class, Danny Henry in the pit, so they really need to do as best as they can to get the car out and score some points. 3 points behind is Tim Docker in the championship, so yeah, a big effort for the team there to get Danny Henry out.
Yeah, it's damage limitation now, isn't it? It's they're going through Josh Mason. Now he's done an absolute best first sector on this lap, so maybe after being put off his stride at the start of the race, he's now sort of calming, regrouping, and being able to sort of plan ahead a little bit more now after all of the frantic first few corners has gone out of his system. There towards us is Harry Burgoyne being chased by Ollie Webb. Harry, after that brake issue yesterday, looking okay in this opening stint today. Sam Harrison, currently the man with the fastest lap of the race to his name. Michael O'Brien, the leader, still not really being able to shake off that pack behind as they come down to the Parabolica once more. In third place there, you've got the other white car, Lucas Sundal, and he has got an amazing track record in Porsches, multiple Carrera Cup Scandinavia champion. He's one of the more experienced racers actually on the grid, but not in terms of McLaren. Right now, a tyre can go on to Danny Henry's car, but he is going to be 2 laps adrift now. So points are available to him, but certainly not much more than third in class unless others have problems ahead of him, and he can therefore buy back some places. Michael O'Brien, the leader, 0.8 of a second. That lap he did do the fastest, so he is now just creeping away from the opposition.
Yeah, Josh Mason there, very fast as you said in the first sector, so he's obviously settled down now after the first lap incident, and yeah, just now firmly focusing on the car ahead of him. But yeah, Michael O'Brien still leading though, very controlled pace, but Sam Harrison very much on his heels.
Now, one of the things that we've talked about in the past with Michael O'Brien is he's very clever when he uses the extra power, the push to pass. Whoops, bit of a wobble from Will Aspin. He gets it all wrong at the Roger chicane, and that opens up the road for Bradley Ellis to go by. And John Lancaster comes up to have a go as well. He couldn't quite do it. Josh Mason behind is stuck there. So 1 place lost for Will Aspin. It could have been a whole lot worse than that, but it does certainly promote Bradley Ellis into the top 6. More dust kicked up as people go wide through the Lesmo bends. Maurice Henry on the back of this group as well. So yeah, Michael O'Brien is trying not to use that push to pass to get away. They've got 300 seconds to use over the course of the race, but they want to try and keep that so that if there's a late race safety car, then Jaden Kelly's got the full benefit of it.
That's it, very important. In this track, really, the push-to-pass quantity they have goes away very, very quickly. So if you can save that in the beginning of the race, it will pay dividends at the end.
Sure, there is O'Brien just edging away, look, as they come now down into the Parabolica and through the right-hander. Will Aspin trying to fight back, but he's rather busy defending from John Lancaster rather than going after Bradley Ellis as they come up now through the Parabolica once more, heading towards the timing line. And as they do so, the battle is on for that 7th spot. You can see the way, but now that he's been released, Bradley Ellis is flying up the road and trying to catch the 5th place car of Ollie Webb. The race lead gap has gone up a little bit more, 0.9 of a second now. And so Michael O'Brien is doing his level best to build that advantage, being chased still by Sam Harrison as they turn up through the Rettifilio. Danny Henry is circulating, and another one that's been rather delayed somewhere is Tim Docker. He has fallen a long, long way off the pace of everybody else. He's coming out of the Parabolica as the leaders are going up through the first of the chicanes, the Rettifilio. Kevin Rorschach currently leading in Am. Pro-Am being led by Ollie Webb and Pro by Michael O'Brien.
Michael still quicker than Harrison, but only by 0.2 on that lap, so he's not really able to pull away. And that, when it comes to the pit stops, there's about a 4-second difference in Harrison's advantage or the car 90 advantage. So I would say the car 90 now is looking in a very good position.
When the lights flash, that's the indication that the driver is on the extra power, the so-called push to pass, but you can use it as a push to pull away or a push to catch. You can see that gap coming down between Harry Burgoyne and then Ollie Webb as they come now into the Variante Ascari. Once again, up the curb goes Ashley Marshall, and the dust kicked up ahead of him from Josh Mason. There is Maurice Henry in the Speedworks Race Lab entry, and that is starting now from 11th place to look a bit more menacing as far as the traffic is concerned. Maurice Henry giving away quite a lot in terms of mileage, given that he didn't get into yesterday's race, but going well here as the field again swings through Parabolica. Josh Mason, after that tough first lap, not yet making the progress. He's still stuck in 9th place and doesn't really seem to have an answer to John Lancaster, for example, who's raced at a higher level, and he knows McLaren's better, you could argue, but equally, Josh, after a good drive yesterday, I think will be a bit frustrated about all this.
Yeah, a little bit harder this race for that car, and still now he is showing his nose on the outside, but there's nowhere to go. And once again, he goes through the escape road. I'm not sure what's going on there, if he has an issue with the brakes or something. It's almost looked like a momentary lock-up there and gone straight through, but he didn't get in position, so he should be okay there.
Yeah, he drops back, doesn't he, in the queue, so you've got Maurice Henry right up behind him now, but yeah, as though Josh at the last moment thought better avoid contact here and goes up the escape road. There, Will Aspin, and right up behind him, Ollie Webb. So that's Ollie Webb having dropped back, is it not? Because Webb was ahead at the start of the lap. So has 22 got a problem? Will Aspin has got ahead and is edging away ever so slightly as another one hooks a wheel into the dirt there, that being the car of John Lancaster. Behind him is Ashley Marshall, then Maurice Henry. So Maurice Henry has cleared Josh Mason since we last looked. So Josh's race here is unravelling. Maybe there is something sinister.
Yes, it's looking that way. I mean, oh, here we go. Oh, that's Sam Harrison.
It is, out of second place. Sam Harrison at the Ascari chicane. Misses his braking point, runs way off the road through the gravel, drags that back onto the circuit, and he's under attack straight away from Harry Burgoyne. So that's about the only error I think we've seen out of Sam all weekend, but it's been a costly one. It's cost them a position, and it might cost them two. Burgoyne all over the back of him here. Down to the parabolica, and another little twitch under braking. Sam Harrison will be on dirty tyres now with all that dust on them. He runs out a little bit wide. Burgoyne not quite able to pounce on the inside. They're both on the extra power look as they come up towards the timing line, but it's game on now for third place. Lucas Sundal goes up into second, 2.3 seconds back from O'Brien, and Sam Harrison then nearly 6 seconds away from the leader. So that's certainly a costly error. Not only has it cost him a place, it's cost him time, and it's put him in jeopardy for another position here. Down through the chicane they go once again. Further back, you can see Josh Mason getting it late on the brakes. This time he does make the corner, but he's up the curb. So does that have an early brake issue, do you think?
That looks very much like one of those, but it's very unusual to see that at the beginning of the race. And then with the heat, you tend to have those issues towards the end, but he's obviously not happy with the brakes on that car at the moment.
And it's becoming a big, big struggle for him, and it ain't going to get any better, one fears, as the race goes on. Now, let's have a look here as Sam Harrison arrives very rapidly, way too rapidly. Off he goes, through the gravel, onto the grass, and the car will hop and bounce its way back onto the tarmac, but that's down to him, isn't it?
It is, but very unusual. I mean, the guy's been driving absolutely superbly, you know, throughout the weekend. So, again, looked like I hate to say, but another braking point that he missed or went a bit too deep into it, or maybe he had an issue, I'm not sure.
So our drivers now in the heat and with the cars having had a grueling weekend, are they now going to have to start thinking a little bit earlier about managing? There, Josh Mason is back ahead of Maurice Henry, so that change has happened again for 10th place, and it's gone back to Josh Mason. Meanwhile, there you've got Sam Harrison third, Harry Burgoyne fourth, and look how much closer Bradley Elliott has got in that papaya orange car in fifth place, getting closer all the while as they swoop now through parabolica up towards the timing line. Once again, Michael O'Brien building the gap. Sam Harrison having to think about fending off the traffic for third. O'Brien to Lucas Sundal is now 2.7 seconds. O'Brien's lapping quicker, so he's building that advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a very consistent sort of 3 to 4 tenths a lap now for O'Brien, which is absolutely perfect for them. They're pulling away now nicely.
So as they come up through the chicane, more curb usage for Ollie Webb. John Lancaster is behind him. There is Maurice Henry, who has now actually dropped back a little bit, Maurice, since Josh Mason passed him. He's fallen away. So Fiona James will do the second stint in that car after a very disappointing, not even a lap duration yesterday. But they're going to be back in 11th spot. Of course, for the Speedworks car, Race Lab here to run it, it's going to be a class position and the points that they're after rather than thinking of an outright win. But we have got drivers ready to go. We've got them in the pit lane. Remember, the first pit window is for the Pro-Ams, and that means the likes of Ollie Webb and John Lancaster and Bradley Ellis have a finite amount of work to do before they have to give way to the AM. That was Nick Halstead getting ready, touring car and GT racer these days. Ryan James looking at the pictures, looking at the data, looking at the optimum moment to jump on board. And there is Maurice Henry, who is dropping back, isn't he now?
Yeah, so doing a good job, though. I mean, you have to put into perspective, Maurice haven't done many laps at all this weekend, obviously, with the DNF yesterday from Fiona. And so it's really, really decent job, really, within a second of the front-running pace. So, yeah, I think doing a very, very good job, given the the lack of laps he's had up to now. And
Ashley Marshall goes wide. Has he got a problem? He was certainly wide and got a couple of wheels on the dirt. But yeah, he has got a problem. Look in the background, the car, Ashley Marshall and Eric Behrens share, slows right down. So that's going to be coming into the pit lane, I fear, at the end of this lap. But whether it rejoins is a moot point. They were runners-up yesterday in Pro-Am, but a problem, and it might be lucky to get there. Something has gone horribly wrong, hasn't it? And yeah, Ashley Marshall has to park.
Yeah, so that's they were hot on the heels of Ryan and Ollie Webb there for the top position of the championship. So that is not going to be good for their chances. Yeah, very unfortunate that just a DNF for car 88.
So Ashley Marshall out of the race. Eric Behrens doesn't get to go. Into the pit lane comes Maurice Henry to give way to Fiona James. Just going back to that point, Eric Behrens said on the grid that the team had been working till about 5 o'clock this morning to try and get a good car. They were good yesterday, but after all the hard work, problems, and they're out of the race.
There you go. So yeah, it's just the way it goes sometimes. But they showed very good pace. Excellent result yesterday. So yeah, big shame for them not to finish.
Very true indeed. As then the pit stops now start to cycle through. Ollie Webb has got a problem. He's been up the road at the second chicane and round the outside there, and a big lose from John Lancaster out into the gravel and back on again. There he is, heading back to the circuit. Remember, Ollie Webb had lost places early on, hadn't he, to Will Aspin, and he's had another moment up an escape road and struggling, and I wonder whether that's brakes for him also.
Yeah, it looks that way, doesn't it, in the picture? I mean, it is quite probably the hottest part of the day now. But again, I'm surprised this early on, people having that, so many issues with that. It could be that the track has just lost a bit of grip, and but yeah, it's just very unusual to see it this early in the race.
True enough. Well, they're out of the race. Ashley Marshall's car. We'll see whether that is going to be okay to sit there or whether it does need moving. It's not really a part of the circuit where you anticipate people to go off. But there is Harry Burgoyne then, from a good stock car racing family. His dad, Harry Senior, saloon stock car world champion. The whole family used to race in saloon stock cars as well as in national hot rods on occasions. There's another branch of the family doing great things in Formula 2 stock cars these days, and cousins also have been stock rod champions. Right, that on track is now Fiona James. Next one into the pits is Ollie Webb. Bradley Ellis and John Lancaster are in as well. So these are your Pro-Am stops. Replay of Ollie Webb getting back onto the circuit, and then he crowded John Lancaster a little bit. John on the outside thought, I can commit to the outside line, so he did, but then ran out of traction and found a lot of gravel ahead of him.
Yeah, we just not enough grip around the outside there. So, here we go. Is that Bradley Ellis?
That's Harry Burgoyne.
Harry Burgoyne
getting it all wrong, and Bradley Ellis able to go through, but Harry Burgoyne with a big spin. That could have been quite bruising, but anyway, everybody escapes. Right, into the pit lane comes Ollie Webb. Of course, if the car did have a brake problem, rather than just an innocent mistake by Ollie, to put your AM into it for the second stint with a brake issue is going to be quite a challenge. So,
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Good luck, Ryan James.
Ryan's very experienced with this car now. He knows how to handle that kind of issue, but yeah, back to John Lancaster. They're going around the outside. He just no grip around that part of the circuit, and yeah, I suppose. And Ollie didn't do anything wrong there. He gave him enough room. He's just a little too fast around the outside there.
Fiona James letting the quicker cars through, and as the pit stops cycle through, the race with still 27 minutes to go is being led by Michael O'Brien. Then Lucas Sundal not being able to stay with him. There's about half a second a lap difference at the moment. So Michael O'Brien pulling away. Sam Harrison, after his trip through the gravel, still trying to make amends, but his lap times are slower. That last lap of Burgoyne, including the spin, is slower again. So it's looking good at the minute for the O'Brien-Kelly combination. Out of the pit lane come the AMs in Pro-Am cars. Klaus Halsig, Ryan James, Ron Trenker, for example. So we are going to have a shuffle of the order now while more and more of them come through the pit lane. There, number 12 is in, which is the car of Will Aspin. And that's a very disappointed Eric Behrens, whose race has come to an end. So you've seen the car stationary. There it sits. Ashley Marshall is out of it and talking to the marshals about where he needs to be. So right now, as into the pit lane has come number 12, Will Aspin. He will give that car over to Alejandro Gopert. That started on pole position yesterday. Gopert reigning champion. And you can see Michael O'Brien being able to build this lead all the time. Not only is he out on his own, he's also just done a personal best first sector. He's done the fastest lap of the race. So using there a little bit of the extra power to try to build the gap even more over the opposition. Got 7 seconds to serve in the pits. Jaden Kelly will bring the car then through to the end. There is Josh Mason getting up the inside to put a lap on Fiona James' car. And of course, Josh Mason now gaining ground while we've got the pit stop cycling through. Right, we're getting a bit concerned early on about what was going on for Ollie Webb. We saw him drop a few places and be up the escape road. Question mark over all of that. And Alex can shed more light for us from the pit lane.
I can shed more light and I can speak to the man himself. Ollie, talk us through that stint.
We're meant to be the pros, it's chaotic. No, it's fun. No one driving badly. I just meant like it was just, I mean, an awesome kind of 20 minutes in the car. It's almost better if you don't know who's around you, so you can just concentrate on going forwards. But had a good start. We went from 10th to 5th and first in class and started to pull away. Then I think I just used a bit too much of my brakes, and then I ran wide at the chicane to not hit the SMC car in front. Lost the position to Brad. We then started reeling him back in, but unfortunately it's just you push that little bit extra here at Monza and you cook your brakes. I mean, these cars are so fast. We're 1 second off a GT World Challenge car in qualifying with Pro and Pro, so you can imagine how hard it is for these guys.
And in these temperatures, presumably.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously super hot in the cockpit and a really fun track to drive. Yeah, very challenging. It's just that balance of being as quick as you can, but making sure you've got a car to give to your teammate.
Well done, Ollie. Thank you.
Into the pit lane comes Josh Mason. Tough stint. He will give that car over to Sam Nessa. These are yesterday's winners. Did their confidence a massive amount of good, didn't it? But a tough opening, certainly for Josh.
Yeah, a very different day for that car today, but it's all, character building, I guess. They're still doing a good job. I think Josh just, settled down after the early laps, sort of frantic action there, but he's into a rhythm now and doing quite well. Yeah, Ollie was just saying there about the brakes. Monza is known to be just the heaviest track on brakes here, very high speeds. And again, these cars now have 620 horsepower with a push to power, so puts that extra bit of load on the brakes. And yeah, very hot day, so yeah, it's not surprising.
Big disappointment for Ashley Marshall after a good race yesterday. So that car is out. Josh Mason has done his stint and watches as Sam Nessa gets ready to blast away. So Josh can take off the crash helmet. Whoops, somebody else has gone way, way wide at the Variante Ascari. The dust is settling and more gravel dragged onto the road. So there is a car in recovery. Is that Lucas Sundal, who has been off the road? And has he maybe done a tyre because he's not got much pace? Limping back to the pits.
Going very slowly, yes.
Yeah. So here's the replay into the Variante Ascari. And those two are surviving it. Another one goes way out wide, so that was Ron Trenker's car, I think, and then also Lucas Sundal with a slow car. So the man out of second place with a problem and has come into the pit lane. Oh dear. Danny Henry's car being checked after its earlier puncture. Right, this is turning into a race of attrition all of a sudden, isn't it? With one or two cars wilting in the heat, it feels like. Into the pits here comes Harry Burgoyne. So he's going to give that now over to Zach Meakin. Unaffected by it all for Greystone GT. Michael O'Brien continues to lead the way. He's not yet had to worry about his mandatory pit stop.
And funny enough, he's not have to worry about his pace. Look at it, his last lap was a 49.1. So, yeah. All these people having issues with seems to be, with brakes, Michael O'Brien isn't. He's actually driving still as hard as he did at the beginning of the race and extending his gap. Now, only 7 seconds. He needs to serve 7 seconds in the pits. It was looking good for Sundal until obviously this issue now with this off that he had on track. Yeah, so now it looks like it's a very difficult task for anyone to beat the Greystone GT car at the lead.
Yeah, I don't think Sundal's car is going to rejoin, is it? Because it was such a slow last sector that I fear, a bit like Ashley Marshall's car, has got a big problem. There, now, Leo Caravicoli. So he's in the car in second place in real terms that was started by Sam Harrison. There's the other ALL Motorsport car in the pit lane then. So Lucas Sundal gets out, but Mikael Karlsson does not get in. So dramas that has taken the car that was running second out of contention completely. So Michael O'Brien is now in. Zach Meakin coming out of the pit lane. You can see he's just relayed Harry Burgoyne. So that's the next car to keep an eye on as it blends into the pack. But Harry Burgoyne's spin did cost them a little bit of time earlier on. So 21 minutes are still on the clock as the leaders go up towards the Curva Grande once again. Zach Meakin definitely will be a man to keep an eye on there now. And the last driver to make a pit stop is going to have to be Tim Docker, leaving it late in the window. And the car of Lucas Sundal, we understand it's a mechanical issue, to use that great catch-all phrase, and is not therefore going much further. Number 40, getting a bit caught up and off the road. That was Nick Halstead. So there is the Pro-Am entry, taken over from Tom Holland. They were double winners at Brands, but this is proving to be a much tougher, much more competitive weekend. And Fiona James ahead on track now after Nick Halstead's little moment. So Fiona James being able to get up through the order. But if these two can start squabbling and have a proper battle, that will keep them busy for the remainder of the race, won't it?
Nick Halstead there is still, in the battle there. 4 points. He's third in the championship in the Pro-Am class. So, yeah, just still running strong after a few issues in qualifying actually earlier today. So, good to see that car doing so well.
A little bit of debris lying on one side of the road, gravel on the other, proof that people have certainly been trying hard in this race and been running out wide. The car of Jaden Kelly has just blasted back into the race. He's taken over from Michael O'Brien. Tim Docker, the last one to come in for his mandatory pit stop, although as we know Lucas Sundal isn't going to go back out again. They're coming up towards the timing line. More of the field streams through. So into the braking zone at the first of the chicane, Leo Caravicili, and right up behind him now is Alejandro Gapert. This is for second place, so they've got quite a lot of real estate between themselves and Jaden Kelly, who is very nearly in the 5th race of the year. So far ahead is he? There he is, up to the Roger chicane. So he's on his outlap, and a 20-second penalty to the Josh Mason Sam Nessa car for being short on the pit stop. So a time penalty issued. Well, it was a bad race anyway in terms of where they were in the classification, and that's just added insult to injury, really, hasn't it?
A very different day for these guys today from yesterday after the obviously the win. But that's how it goes. You can't win them all, I suppose. But yeah, they're having a really torrid time now.
Battle on for second place. Alejandro Gapert, the reigning champion, on the back of Leo Caravicili in only his second race in one of these cars. So on paper, Gapert should make short work of him. But Caravicili has been so impressive this weekend that this ain't going to be easy at all as they go underneath the bridge then, down towards the Variante Ascari. This is lap number 14. 18 minutes on the clock. Up the curb goes Caravicili. Gapert now starting to work out where he can make the move as they accelerate on this long straight down to the Parabolica.
Will he use the push to pass? Yes, he will. There he goes. You could see it flashing just there. Or was it just him coming behind the car? No, so he didn't. So right up at the back of the number 90 car, coming onto the parabolic and onto the front straight. Now, this is where he should really be pushing that button. He elected not to. So you can see there that couldn't make any gap really on the car in front. So now he pushes the button. I'd say a bit too late. It's funny because he flashed a few times, but he didn't really stay on.
No. And the gap stretches, therefore. So Caravicili, 0.6 of a second up on Gapert. Behind them is Zach Meakin. And off the road, Fiona James. And he's trying to rejoin. Now the danger is there's no gap in the traffic. And, cars have to thread around. Where is this, he says, looking at the road. It's the Variante Ascari. And it's a blind part of the circuit, that. So Fiona James has had a spin. Car's undamaged. She's going to be able to get going again, which is the good news. But Fiona, who has a real penchant for driving big, powerful GT cars. Not for Fiona, our small one-make saloons. Far from it. She's raced big, powerful GT cars for many, many seasons now. But a spin there at the chicane. She'll rejoin, but time lost. Right, so Jaden Kelly leads Leo Caravicili. Alejandro Gapert third. And then doing personal best sectors, Zach Meakin fourth, becoming the one to watch. In 5th place, it's this fight. Klaus Halsig ahead of Ryan James, and this is for the lead of Pro-Am. Now, with respect, Ryan James has proved to be very rapid as an Am and ought to be able to get past Klaus Halsig. He's got 16 minutes and change in which to do it. Third in the class is Ron Trenker. Am is Andreas Greiling leading Tim Docker, leading the delayed Danny Henry. So there's the leaderboard in each of those 3 classes. But Pro-Am, Ryan James working out where and when he can make the move and where his car may have the advantage over that, ahead of him of Klaus Halsig.
Yeah, historically, Ryan's had more pace than Klaus over the last few races, but Klaus is doing a fantastic job there. And again, great stint by Ellis to propel the car where it is now, but Klaus is doing a superb job at the moment, keeping Ryan James behind.
So through they turn again, and as they do so on now lap 15 for them, the leader, Jaden Kelly, starts lap 16. You can see that over the last 3 laps, James has been quicker than Halsig, which with respect, again, not a surprise. We know that Ryan James is good. He's got a good coach, certainly in Ollie Webb. Likewise, Klaus Halsig, coached by Bradley Ellis, but Ryan James taking the fight to Klaus Halsig with a good run out of the Parabolica, both on the push to pass. And this is a very, very long pit straight, isn't it? Down to a brutal first gear chicane, but the advantage goes to Ryan James. Klaus Halsig tries to brave it out, but Ryan James ought to be able to get this down under braking.
Yeah, this should be a clean move on the inside into the chicane. And yeah, really very smart of Klaus not to fight. But yeah, James goes a little bit wide there into the chicane, and that could give an opportunity for Klaus Halsig to get the position back.
Ryan James moves across the racetrack, defends, going into the Curva Grande. But yeah, Klaus Halsig gave him racing room a little bit deep into the Rettifilio, then did go. Ryan James, who's now on that extra power, trying to pull away up to the Roger chicane. Not much to choose between them, but I think now once... Oh, no, Ryan James again, a little mistake sideways there. So very nearly caught out. Klaus Halsig squirts up the inside. Is he going to make a move going into the Lesmo bend? Ryan James jinks one side to give him a bit more room, which is gentlemanly. Klaus Halsig is alongside Ryan James, almost runs out of road, 2 wheels in the gravel. So, yeah, it's been a rather frantic lap. He got the place, but then a couple of mistakes in quick succession.
Fantastic battle there between those two. So great to see Klaus get that position back. Good driving.
Absolutely right. Now, what else is going on? Jaden Kelly leads the way. This is for second place still, where Leo Caravicili is a long way back, but fending off Alejandro Gapet. You've got Zach Meek in fourth, getting closer and closer and closer all the time as they come up towards the timing line. Now, through goes Caravicili. The lead gap is 10 seconds, and Jaden Kelly is lapping faster. So the Greystone car looks as though it is going to be able to run away for a third win of the season. But for second place, Caravicili and Gapet are still squabbling. There is Leo Caravicili coming out of the chicane. That number 12 SMC car is Alejandro Gapet's SMC, the Spanish team, run by Emilio de Villota Jr. And it's another SMC car, fourth, Zach Meekin, trying to play catch-up. Now, there's Ryan James, who has got to do it all over again to get past Klaus Halsig, whose confidence will be up a little bit, won't it? Thinking, well, you know, I might not be necessarily as quick as you, but I can race with you, and I can work out where I'm stronger, and I can fight, and I can make a proper duel out of this, and I can stay ahead under braking.
It's a hugely impressive performance by Klaus Halsig, really keeping Ryan James, who is historically, again, a good second or two faster, or has been, than him, but doing a superb job in this race.
So for 6th place overall, but for the Pro-Am lead, Klaus Halsig in the orange car, there Ryan James in the red livery. They go out of the Curva Grande, and behind them, third in class, is Ron Trenker, and he is about on their pace, but not much quicker, and therefore, even though they're squabbling, he's not benefiting and catching, but not for the want of trying, in fairness. So with 13 cars circulating, there you've got Ryan James running in 7th place. It was only 0.3 of a second, the margin between them at the start of the lap. Ryan now just sort of trying to calm himself down and regroup and think about what he did wrong and what not to do a second time. Klaus Halsig then, who was on the podium yesterday for 3rd place in class, looking very strong indeed right now. And Pro-Am this year is proving to be really competitive. We've had lots of good racing. We've had lots of different combinations scoring good results, not the same faces all the time.
Really competitive, and still providing the number of cars in, you know, it's the class with 7 cars in the field. But the level of driving going in the Pro-Am class is really superb. And Klaus Halsig again giving us a really fantastic display at how to defend a more experienced driver behind him. So great racing.
Through the Parabolica again goes Klaus Halsig. Ryan James looking the quicker, looking closer. Halsig on the push to pass, the extra power, trying to use it to pull clear as the cars now come up. Break the beam, another lap in the book then, 17 done with 11 minutes and a bit still on the clock, down towards the Rettifilio. This is where Ryan James gets a slipstream, goes to the inside, thinks better of it. What he'd like to do is force a mistake out of Klaus Halsig, but Ryan James is the one that makes the mistake with a wheel up onto the white line. He's got to give that place back. There is a little slalom that you've got to go through before you can rejoin, and in fairness, Ryan James does slow the car down and has given away a big chunk of time actually to Klaus Halsig, so certainly self-penalised there.
Yeah, I think he slowed down a little too much there. Yeah. Because obviously he was aware that he had to give that back, but not, you know, perhaps lost a little too much. So you see the gap now is massive. And but again, I can't praise Klaus Halsig enough on the, you know, his, you know, the battle that was there against a more experienced driver who historically again faster than him, and he held him for 2-3 laps.
Yeah. And
so yeah, being faster is not enough. You have to go through, and Ryan couldn't quite fight a way through.
We understand Zach Meakin also did the same thing up at the chicane with his braking wrong and went up the escape road. And so now Zach Meakin, who was fourth, has fallen to fifth. Sam Nesser is ahead of him, although you've got that 20-second penalty to apply at the end of the race. There is Nick Halstead, who is now on the back of Ron Trenker. This is for third in Pro-Am. Ron Trenker, for the moment, staying ahead. There is Nick Halstead behind as they make that run again underneath the bridge, down towards the Variante Ascari. And actually, Ron Trenker has stretched that in a straight line, hasn't he?
Yes, looking again, a very, very solid performance by Ron Trenker in this race, and fighting for podium positions in class.
Worked his way out of the Variante Ascari. You can see how dirty that is, all of that gravel across the road. So people go off, drag gravel onto the circuit, which means people go off and drag gravel onto the circuit, which means, and on we go. Now, car in the pit lane. This isn't what we need, and it's one of the SMC cars, and it's Zach Meakin. So he went up the escape road. I wonder if this is brakes as well. So he comes down the pit road, and Zach Meakin looking as though this might be the end of the race. The car ended up in the gravel yesterday. Is it leaking something out of the back? It is. Right rear corner. Bit of liquid. And
potential overheating there with that liquid coming out of the back end of the car.
Driver out, so it's game over, isn't it? Oh, big shame. Yeah. 2 finishes this weekend then for Zach Meakin and Harry Burgoyne, and as the seatbelt is put back into the car and all the cables are put back in, I think that door's going to have to be slammed by Zach Meakin. Right, a flash of the lights from Jaden Kelly to his co-driver of last year, Fiona James. They were teammates last season, split apart this year, different teams, different driver combinations. Jaden Kelly to put a lap on the 12th-placed car, which will inherit 11th place before much longer. And Nick Halstead's into the pits as well. So Nick Halstead, who was getting up with Ron Trenker, he's come into the pit lane for reasons that aren't instantly apparent. So 8.5 minutes to go, and Jaden Kelly, the race leader, by a very healthy margin now of 10.6 seconds over Leo Caravicili. In third place, Alejandro Gapet in the surviving SMC run car, and there they are, Caravicili and Gapet, 0.6 of a second. But it's weird, this, a bit like at Brands Hatch, Gapet in the second stint there never quite caught a light in the same way we expected. And all right, I'm not suggesting that Leo Caravicili isn't good, but you might have thought that Gapet would have been able to get past him here, and he's struggling so to do. That was Nick Halstead's car you were looking at in the pit lane. So Halstead, having gone onto the back of Ron Trenker, by the end of the lap, he's in the pits and looking as though retirement.
Yes, I'm not sure exactly what went on there, but you've got to say that, I mean, that's hugely impressive by Caravicili. I know that Gapet, I mean, to hold a driver of Gapet's stand it's really impressive, and this has been going on for 3 or 4 laps now, and yeah, he's looking very solid there in that position.
That's the AM leading car of Andreas Greiling, who has shaken off Tim Docker now, so he's on his own. The gap between Klaus Halsig and Ryan James coming down again to about 0.6 of a second for Pro-Am leadership, and Jaden Kelly is 10.5 seconds up the road from Leo Caravicili, as there you've got going through Andreas Greiling up towards the timing line. 7 more minutes are on the clock. So Jaden Kelly can afford to back off the pace a little bit now, not make any mistakes. Andreas Greiling goes by. This car that was started by Kevin Rohrscheid comes from the MS racing team. Good to have new teams as well coming into McLaren Trophy every season. Another couple of teams have a look and like what they see, and if they can attract customers and are in for the long haul. And the more cars you can run, the more economies of scale there are as well. So good to have different squads, some of course with their sights purely on racing in McLaren Trophy, others operate GT McLaren programs elsewhere. Right, Klaus Halsig I should say, versus Ryan James for Pro-Am honours and 5th overall. They're back together again, so in fairness to Ryan James, he's done a good couple of 3 laps here to bring that gap right down. So he's on the tail of Klaus Halsig, who's been able to fend him off once, but he's got to do it again. 6 more minutes on the clock.
And Klaus seems to have just an endless amount of boost there, because those lights have been flashing pretty much every lap. But he's doing, again, a superb job keeping the number 22 car behind. And another mention there for 43. So Sam Nesser, they're doing a fantastic job. The only car other than Jaden Kelly on the 49s on the last lap. Now, obviously, other cars have done that, but very good pace there from Sam Nasser, as he did yesterday when they won the race. So a good recovery there for car 43 after the troubles of the early laps.
Absolutely, although there will be a 20-second penalty to apply post-race for that short pit stop. Now, this is your battle for second place with traffic up the road as well. So on the lights, Leo Caravasili to say, I'm quicker, let me through, don't get in the way. One of those cars looks like being Fiona James's. Down towards the braking zone they come. The first one could be Danny Henry, in fact, that they have to negotiate. So into the Variante Ascari, way up the curb there goes Alejandro Capet. So quick flick through the left, the right, the left, and then down towards the Parabolica they come. It's the third and fourth cars of this pack that we're looking for. And now Leo Caravasili needs to try and think about where he makes the move. The back markers are squabbling amongst themselves, which is not great news for him. So Danny Henry gets up the inside to pass Fiona James. Now Caravasili goes through Capet with a much, much tighter line, hoping that the road opens up for him. It didn't. Fiona James slots back into the queue, but Caravasili hangs on to the pace. They come across the line once again. Now Caravasili tries to sort out Danny Henry under braking, going down towards turn one, gets through. This is where Capet follows suit, gets a tow, thinks about the outside line, stand on the brakes at the end of that long pit straight, and round the outside Capet thinks better of it. Realised that contact might be coming in the second part of the chicane, backs out of it, compromises his own exit speed, but at least doesn't pick up a penalty, doesn't pick up any damage.
No, great driving by both drivers, really. They, in effect, looked after themselves into that chicane. Capet showed his nose there, but yeah, quite rightly, Caravasili closed the door there, and yeah, very impressive again. Not just his speed, but Caravasili's racecraft there. There's nothing wrong with that.
Indeed so. Caravasili then 11.2 seconds back. This squabble is delaying them as far as catching the leader is concerned, but there's a lot at stake. Second place then, Leo Caravasili in only his second ever McLaren Trophy race versus the reigning champion, Alejandro Capet. This is quite something to stay ahead of Capet. We've been praising him for the last season and a bit, and Leo Caravasili arrives totally fresh into it and keeps him at bay thus far. 3.5 minutes, give or take, still to go. Up towards the Ascari chicane they come again. Through that left, right, left sequence of corners. Behind, you've got the car of Danny Henry, 13th. Another lap down on Fiona James, who is in 10th. And out front, it's proving to be an easy race for Jaden Kelly. He very wide there goes Fiona James. Jaden Kelly building the gap all the time. In the background, you can see Sam Nasser, who is certainly lapping quickly. That car's personal best lap. Interesting that Sam Nasser lapping faster than Josh Mason. That might be because he hasn't got quite the same amount of traffic around him. Might be because the car is much lighter on the fuel now. But Sam Nasser, who was in junior saloons only a couple of years ago, really is looking the real deal right now. The sadness is the car's going to get this whacking great time penalty for the short pit stop. And here, Klaus Halsig and Ryan James are back at it. Ryan James switches sides. Klaus Halsig gives him racing room, and Ryan James has positioned himself on the right line for the next corner, and he's got the job done. For the Pro-Am lead, there's a change. Ryan James goes through.
Or has he? Is there enough boost left in Halsig's car? Here we go. He goes off the track. This is Halsig's opportunity to get back at him.
Goes through and threw it off, yeah. Klaus Halsig not quite close enough, is he? So despite that little moment, Ryan James has done enough. But I tell you, he leaves nothing on the table, does he? He's absolutely flat out here, Ryan James, totally committed to it. And we've seen him with a little wobble or two in the past in this race. And there's another one. Here, we've had the change because Capet is up ahead now for second place of Caravasili, and having done it, he's starting to edge away just a little.
Yes, Capet really was a good sort of 10th or 2 a lap faster, so it was almost inevitable on that one, but a good battle.
Now let's have a look at how it happened. It was going down to the Rettifilio, the first chicane, and very, very, very late on the brakes. Capet almost had written that off, but had to jink up the inside for fear of going into the back of Caravasili's car, and having committed to the inside line, got the job done.
I'm surprised that Caravasili didn't go defensive on that one, and really left the door quite open there.
I think Capet was surprised as well, wasn't he? Because it was almost like, crikey, I've got to turn right to avoid hitting him, and got a place as a consequence. Right, so Capet pulls away. Jaden Kelly is going to get one more lap out of this race, and he has done, on the previous one, the fastest lap of the race. Jaden Kelly goes by. Interesting to go back to the team and just point out that, yeah, I'm quicker than Michael O'Brien, which is no mean feat. We know how good Michael is.
Yeah, it's a difficult one to judge that one because obviously different conditions, lighter on the fuel load would probably help. But, you know, he's got brakes that are a little bit used now, to say the least. And obviously the tyres are not as fresh as they were at the beginning. But, yeah, those guys are very evenly matched, really. Yeah.
Yeah, Jaden Kelly, the Australian, who is looked after by Mark Blundell, came to race in McLaren Trophy last year, totally new circuits, and had an up-and-down sort of a season. Certainly showed great speed, no question about that. Did have a race win, but going to Greystone for this year and trying to attract the attention of GT teams and manufacturers and doing, in a sense, what the championship is aimed at, finding young drivers, helping them up the GT ranks. Yeah, it's a great home for the AMs to come and race fabulous cars at wonderful circuits, but it's also a really good career move, and more drivers are recognising that now. So having had a season or two in British GT4, for example, or other categories, now come and race for such a well-known manufacturer with its sports car pedigree as well as a very, very good Formula One history, and see what the future holds. Well, for Jaden Kelly and for Michael O'Brien, they won both races at Brands Hatch. It is going to be a victory here in race 2, having finished yesterday's race in second spot. So championship-wise, it's panned out really well, and a victory for Jaden Kelly and Michael O'Brien at the Temple of Speed is just around the corner. This corner, the Parabolica, for the last time through the right-hander. Then comes Jaden Kelly. The checkered flag is ready for Jeff Kingston and the Greystone GT engineers. It's going to be another celebration because the checkered flag is waved and the Greystone GT car of Jaden Kelly and Michael O'Brien wins. Yesterday it was a 1-2 for Greystone. Today it's going to be second to SMC Motorsport as Alejandro Gapet should be through for second position. And then for third, it will be Leo Caravasoli. They come across the line with fourth in the background. They're going to Sam Nessa, but by the time you've applied that time penalty, he may drop quite a long way down the order. We wait to see what's going to happen in Pro-Am. Ryan James has now most definitely sorted out Klaus Halsig, hasn't he? He's pulled away by quite some margin, but that was a really good battle, and fair play to Klaus Halsig. He didn't just roll over and let Ryan James through. No, 100%. Really good to watch. I think the battle of the race for me, really, those two guys, and Halsig again doing great defensive work. I think Ryan James will go back and sit down with Ollie Webb and have a look at this race from a racecraft point of view. Perhaps there are things that he could have learned from that, and that's what this is about. You know, it's about these guys learning from the pros, and but yeah, good result there for number 22. Getting ahead just before the end. And Ryan James now just measuring his pace a little bit at the end. Doesn't have to win by a massive margin, just has to bring the car home and secure the class victory. Heads up towards the timing line, and Ryan James celebrates a second win of the weekend. So in Pro-Am, we're kind of getting pairs of winners, aren't we? Nick Halstead and Tom Holland won both at Brands, and then here 2 wins for Ollie Webb and Ryan James. And honours also in Am to Andreas Greiling and Kevin Rawshide ahead of Tim Docker, and then Danny Henry in third place. So there is a very happy Jaden Kelly, and the winning margin 13.7 seconds. And again, you could argue that it was an easy stint in as much as he didn't have to battle anybody. He just had to consolidate, but not a wheel wrong. No, exactly. So, you know, clockwork really from Jaden Kelly's point of view. And even at the end there, he obviously had lots of boost left in his car. He used that throughout the last sort of 2 laps and got the fastest lap of the race on a 48.9. So, yeah, just a perfect job for the Greystone car. And, yeah. And again, you have to say, the opening stint for Michael O'Brien, you couldn't fault that, really. No, indeed. And the Am winners, Andreas Greiling and Kevin Rawshide, they will come through for the podium as well. So Jaden Kelly taking the fastest lap of the race, and the cars required for the podium being allowed past the marshals. And there, Jaden Kelly doing the right thing, going to the grass, getting a bit of pickup on the tyres to help with the weight, to help with the ride height of the car before it gets to the technical checks. And there you've got Andreas Rawshide, Kevin Rawshide and Andreas Greiling's car behind, making its way round to the presentations as well. Let's look at the result then of our second McLaren Trophy Europe race of the weekend. Jaden Kelly and Michael O'Brien taking the win by a whopping margin in the end, 13.7 seconds from Alejandro Gapet and Will Aspin. In third place, Leo Caravasoli and Sam Harrison, with Sam Nessa and Josh Mason 4th over the line, but their time penalty may affect that. 5th, Ryan James and Ollie Webb, ahead of Klaus Halsig and Bradley Ellis, John Lancaster and Ron Trenker 7th. That's your top 3 within Pro-Am. And then 8th, the winning Am combination of Andreas Greiling and Kevin Rorscheit from Tim Docker. Danny Henry 11th, 3rd in the class. The top 10, though, rounded out by Fiona James and Maurice Henry, despite that spin from Fiona James at the Ascari chicane. So the winning cars arrive into the presentation area with Michael O'Brien on the scene, ready to congratulate the very tall Jaden Kelly, who unfolds himself from the car. Just to thank the engineers. Cars being placed under part ferme conditions. Drink for Jaden Kelly, because as the point has been made, it is a very, very hot day here. So Jaden taking some liquid back on board. Not the fiercest of fights he had, but he did have to work very hard in his stint yesterday. That is Leo Caravasili. And he and Sam Harrison have had a mighty weekend. Sam, we know, is good for what he's achieved in the past in historic single-seater racing, Formula Junior, Formula Ford. But Leo Caravasili has done precious little racing, so he has been one of the standouts of the weekend.
Absolutely, he's been totally unknown to me, certainly, but other than I looked at him on the internet, found out he was a skier. I didn't know what his background was in terms of motorsport, but very, very impressive performance to stay, with the pace of some of these more established drivers. So, yeah, huge congratulations to them and to Team ALM, new to the series as well. They've done a fantastic job all weekend. So, yeah, very, very welcome, these guys into the championship, and great result for them.
And they've set their bar pretty high, haven't they? All right, you arrive one round in, but if you could do that on debut, just imagine what you could achieve at Spa or elsewhere. So they've set the bar, as I say, pretty high. Michael O'Brien and Jaden Kelly then are race winners, and they are with Alex.
Here with the Pro Class winners, another dominant win. You boys, my goodness me, that was a bit of a masterclass. Monza domination complete, Jaden.
Yeah, no, it's been a great weekend. Honestly, all I can say is big thank you to the team, big thank you to all the sponsors. It's been a tough weekend. We started off struggling a bit in free practice, but, we've come back, we've made some changes to the car, and it goes like the wind. And this guy right here is pretty quick as well. Oh, yeah. So great weekend.
Oh, yes, you most definitely were. That was quite a stint. It doesn't look easy out there, though.
Yeah, it's just the temperature more than anything. It's you're driving around, and every lap you're like, please call me in, please call me in. It's super hot, but I think once we got away and just broke the slipstream, the race was then kind of set. We could get into the rhythm, build the gap, and knew this guy would bring it home. So,
just how vital is this weekend for your championship battle?
I think it's really important when you look at how close the points are and how they're distributed in this. Like, every result counts, and you can't have one slip. So, yeah, to have the weekend we've had is golden. Yeah, it's good.
Indeed. Well done, boys.
Well done, Jaden Kelly. Well done to Michael O'Brien. Winners today. Yesterday's winners, Sam Nesser and Josh Mason, did, as I say, pick up that time penalty for the short pit stop. But in the end, it didn't affect them. They are still classified 4th overall. But Greystone GT winning both races. And Michael O'Brien making the point about how the points are distributed. You've got to keep banking them, and especially with these extra time penalties given to the top 3 in each race, there's no guarantee that you're going to be able to keep winning, so you take the points when you can, and that's pretty true in the Pro-Am competition. Good first stint by Ollie Webb. Ryan James brought it home for a second win of the weekend.
And our Pro-Am winners yet again, another dominant weekend here in Monza. That was tricky, that stint, wasn't it? I mean, you entertained us, but I imagine it wasn't that entertaining for you.
Oh, that was extremely hard. We were talking about the brakes before, and they were on fire on the way out. So it was incredibly hard. Klaus was consistent, so consistent. And then once you're behind him, the brakes get 2x worse. So it was incredibly challenging.
Yeah. I can't imagine how hard it is when you're under pressure in these conditions and you're pushing someone like Halsig right on your tail. That to and fro is incredible.
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, he was a great racer. He's so consistent. So it was absolutely amazing. Ollie put us in a great position. So it was a good points for the championship.
You definitely did, Ollie, but it wasn't an easy stint, was it?
No, the start was good, and then after the first couple of laps, I think we can get to the top 3 overall here and have some fun with the pros at the front. But just like Ryan alluded to, once you get behind another one of these cars at these speeds and these temperatures here, the brakes just get no cooling. So you have to pull out, you lose a bit of the toe, and then it's a bit of a compound effect. So you could see it was a bit of management there. There's a lot of war going on just with the brakes and everyone fighting. So not an easy win, but a good one.
Certainly looks like you boys are having fun. Well done.
2 this weekend then for Ryan James and Ollie Webb, who will make their way to the podium, and that's going to help their championship hopes, of course, with Nick Halstead and Tom Holland, the double Brands Hatch winners, retiring from this race and being excluded from yesterday's. So a point less weekend. Total contrast from Brands Hatch for them. Real shame. The AM battle, Andreas Greiling and Kevin Rawshite, the victors there. They're with Alex.
And another very tricky battle, Andreas and Kevin. Andreas taking that from pole. That was a great stint, wasn't it?
Yeah, the thank goes to my teammate. Was very fast. I make the ground for this success here, and it was fine. And I needed in the car, and only by managed distance was easily on the end. Yeah.
We have heard from the other boys that we've just spoken to just how tricky it is here in these conditions around Monza. What was it like for you?
Yeah, it was an all-around hot weekend here in Monza yesterday also. It's quite challenging. After half an hour, you're really you're okay to change driver cockpit, but it was a lot of fun and the track is amazing. You really feel the iconic F1 vibe here, and it's really fun to drive here.
Good. Love that. Go and enjoy your podium.
Thank you.
Well done, boys.
Race 2 for McLaren Trophy Europe at Monza, then a win in the AM category for Kevin Rawshite and Andreas Greiling, and a job well done. Again, Andreas Greiling joining in for this weekend, not having been at Brands Hatch, but kick-starting championship aspirations with a podium result yesterday and a race victory today. The Austrian MS Racing team then coming out on top. Another good weekend of racing then for AM drivers here at Monza. Race 2 in McLaren Trophy Europe began with a demon start by Michael O'Brien, and he jumped into the lead while everybody seemed to crowd to the inside line. Down to turn 1, Josh Mason went to the outside, found a clear road but couldn't slow the car down and went up the escape road and lost a whole load of places as he rejoined. It was a tough first stint for Josh Mason. Really couldn't quite get himself back through the pack, whereas lower down the order, Danny Henry had a spin, a cut tyre bringing him into the pit lane, and he lost a couple of laps, meaning there was no repeat of yesterday's win. Harry Burgoyne had a big spin. Thankfully, nobody collected him, although it was pretty close. And Ollie Webb also was in the wars, missing the second chicane, skipping up the escape road. John Lancaster tried to go around the outside of him, but he ran out of road as well and found himself in the gravel. Mechanical woes put Lucas Sundal out of the race. Eric Barron's car also was a retirement, and Fiona James, having taken over from Maurice Henry, had a spin coming into the Ascari chicane, the back just getting into the barriers, but no major damage done. As all eyes turned to Pro-Am, where there was this great battle between Klaus Halsig and Ryan James, and eventually Ryan James was able to go through, but it was a fierce fight between the pair. And having taken the place, Ryan James bounced wide over the curve, but he was able to regroup. Alejandro Gapet, meanwhile, took second place away from Leo Caravasoli in only his second race outing in McLaren Trophy. He had to give way to the reigning champion. As through it all for a third win out of 4 races came Michael O'Brien and Jaden Kelly, the dominant duo again in McLaren Trophy Europe. So the 3 podium ceremonies being orchestrated for the Pro-Am and AM drivers. But Tommy, yet again, some really good racing. Perhaps this one wasn't quite as fierce as yesterday, but there was some good racing, and interesting to see how those extra times in the pits changed the complexion of today's race too.
Yes, I think another great race, and big shame for, I think, for the car 43. They had such a hard start of the race. But, you know, Josh Mason got his rhythm back, and Sam Nasser really showed a lot of pace on that second stint. So it's a shame they had that penalty at the end. And also Sundal, who drove really, really well, was in P2 at some, you know, for most of the second stint, and then obviously had an issue and had to retire. So, but apart from that, I think there were some great battles there. And once again, Klaus Halsig and Ryan James, that battle was for me the battle of the race in the Pro-Am category. So great to see that.
And it was nice to see that Pro-Am battle with the AMs actually doing the battling, not their pros. But these have been two of the star drivers of the weekend. Sam Harrison ahead of Leo Caravasili, who come to the podium for third place in our second race of the weekend, third in the race, third in the pro category. And I think we're going to be talking quite a lot more about these two over the course of the remainder of the season. Second place will go the way of Will Aspin, the Florence-born Brit, and Alejandro Gapet. For the SMC Motorsport team, it's been a tough start to the season, really, for Alejandro Gapet, reigning champion, but that's valuable points. But there's not a lot they can seemingly do at the moment to stem the challenge, stem the advance of third-time winners in 4 races. Michael O'Brien and Jaden Kelly, right now, they're on a roll.
You have to say, a very hard pair to beat, you know, having 4 races and having won 3 of them. So, yeah, they're a very, very strong pair, but there are some quality drivers and teams out there that are giving them challenges. So we'll see how the season pans out.
And for the Greystone GT team, a race win and the British national anthem. Jaden Kelly, Michael O'Brien then the race winners here at Monza. They won both at Brands. They got a second and a first here, so another very good weekend as far as championship points are concerned. And Dariush Gasari, the McLaren 1 Make Racing manager, is on hand to present the trophies to the victors. For the second place drivers, to Will Aspin and Alejandro Gapet, the trophies go. And for Jaden Kelly and Michael O'Brien, the top step of the podium awaits. Trophies in the air, big smiles, and 2 very happy drivers indeed. So as the champagne is sprayed, that's going to increase their advantage within the championship. And the next stop for McLaren Trophy Europe is going to be Spa at the end of June. From Tommy Erdos and David Addison, it's goodbye from Italy. We'll see you at the end of the month.